So, next
Erykah
topic.
Badu is my girl, man.
Erykah Badu this is an article that was in the Complex, complex.com. So you know the Complex magazine, they do a lot of different interviews with artists. So there was this recent interview. I think actually it's covered by the Complex, but this is from a interview with a publication called The Vulture. And so the title of this article is Erykah Badu faces major backlash after talking positively about Hitler. So, long story short, just the premise of the article, I'll read a couple of quotes. Erykah Badu says, I love Bill Cosby and I love what he's done for the world. But if he's sick, why would I be angry with him? The people who got hurt, I feel so bad for them. Mm-hmm. I want them to feel better too. But sick people do evil things. Hurt people hurt people. Badu follows up acknowledging that I know I could be crucified for saying that because I'm supposed to be on the purple team or the green team. I'm not trying to rebel against what everybody's saying, but maybe I want to measure it. And then finally, she was accused of anti-Semitism, of being anti-Semitic based on her supporting the position of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan. And quote, she says, I'm not an anti-Semitic person. I don't even know what anti-Semitic was before I was called it. I'm a humanist. I see good in everybody. I saw something good in Hitler. After being asked to clarify what she was saying, Badu said that Hitler was, quote, a wonderful painter. Mm-hmm. So the backlash from this is kind of what I'm kind of really want to talk about, right? So the article goes on to quote a couple of Twitter posts. One person says, something about Erykah Badu's personality always screamed, quote unquote, phony to me. I'm happy to know I was right. LOL. Whatever that means. Another person says, the Erykah Badu interview was so upsetting. I'm damn near in tears after reading all the ignorant shit she said in the interview. I don't know what's worse, the president or her adding to the hatred going on around the world. Poor Erykah Badu.
That's a bit far, man.
Yeah. Another one, Erykah Badu has been trashed since at least 2014. She called R. Kelly her family. Her teen girls are distracting men. Oh, and said teen girls are distracting men and should wear more clothes. Paraphrase. She capes for Bill Cosby and she capes for Kodak Black. I don't know. Like, it's all been leading to this. So, all in all, it's just a whole bunch of criticisms from Erykah Badu. People talking about something seriously wrong with her, yada, yada, yada.
Man, it's all crazy anyway. Like, the media spins everything you say out of context. Somebody, man, what's that about? Something on Trump. And I think it might have been Alex Jones, man. Because Alex Jones had Trump on pre-election. It was some old interview I was watching, like a 20-minute interview. And they were both saying the same thing, how the media takes a quote, something you said, and they kind of spin it out of context and say that's this and that, you know.
And the media or Twitter? Because these are people from Twitter commenting.
Well, the media uses Twitter to reference.
That is the thing, right?
And Twitter is media. Twitter is social media. It says so it's all the same. A lot of times, like the official news, Channel 4, be like, "Well, President Trump said on Twitter today." You know what I mean? So they get their stories.
Well, that's because he's the president. Twitter. But like, that's because he's the president. Like, him saying something on Twitter is like it's probably.
I mean, yeah, but people do that all the time. When something happens and they want to see how people are reacting, they'll scroll Twitter feeds or across. Yeah.
But Erykah Badu's response to this,
because this is being totally blown out of context. I mean,
people are so quick to judge too, man.
Dave Chappelle said that, man. People have such sensitive ears, man. Like, they just can't. Why can't this be her opinion and people just hear it and be like, oh, well, that's what she thinks. You know what I mean? Like, okay, fine. Like,
instead they
what she said was not terrible. Right. She said she saw something good in Hitler. Like, he was a good painter. Not, you know. Of course, we know the atrocities that him and the Nazi party committed, right? But saying that you saw something good, I mean, you know, fuck, Donald Trump could be a good golfer, right? You know what I mean? You could say, hey, I saw something good in Donald Trump. He's a good golfer. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't understand what kind of backlash she's getting for that. Like, is what Erykah Badu says really that important for people to be judging on what she said? And goddamn, she don't hold no political office or anything.
Hurt people, though. I thought that was really deep.
Right, but it's Bill Cosby hurt. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe.
like, is he hurt? This motherfucker's crazy. That's what they're saying. Why he's raping all these motherfucking women because he's crazy. He's hurting himself. Like, don't put the blame. I'm pretty sure he wasn't hurting when he was slipping shit in people's drinks and all that. And honestly,
maybe that's
the whole thing with Bill Cosby is like that was probably all the rage back then. I mean, that's what you did. Like, who knows each particular case? I mean, they're saying that Bill might have slipped something into this girl's drink. Well, what if the girl was drunk before that? What if the girl had smoked some weed before that? What if she had snorted some coke or some shit before that? You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. It just... it's an attack on people's character. Luckily, this is not bad enough for Erykah Badu for her character to be attacked. Right?
And also...
I mean, when was the last time Erykah Badu was really relevant? Like, of course, old school generation.
The thing is,
like,
Erykah Badu always pops up, right? Like, Erykah Badu is one of those people that people look to for... I don't want to say comedic relief, but as like a point of reference for realness, right? Mm-hmm. So she'll challenge the predominating point of view. And honestly, and that's the thing that really got me, right? Is people are saying things like this, like there's like, oh, Badu's not really relevant. Oh, she's been going down since whatever. Like, if you ever listen to Erykah Badu interview, if you've ever listened to her albums, dude, you realize this chick is not about opinions or the status quo or continuing the present paradigm. Mm-hmm. Like, she's always about challenging ideas. She's always about changing perspectives, always looking at things from a different angle. Every interview I've heard of her speak of, like, people will say, oh, dude, she's wilding. But at the same time, she's coming from a point that's just different from yours. So when she says, oh, I try to look for the good in anybody, like and I'm just saying personally, my reaction isn't like, oh, well, fuck you, which seems to be the reaction I've been reading and common reaction I've received when I made my point, which was my perspective is, well, she's right, like we should all try to look for the good in everybody. Like, even if this is the worst person, the fact of the matter is no person is entirely good, and no person is entirely evil or bad. It's just not a thing. It's a fallacy if you think that, and you're living in a false bubble. The fact of the matter is there are positive. Even Donald Trump, he loves his daughter, and even if that love may be a sexual thing and kind of disturbing in that regard, god damn it, he loves his daughter. Right? So, you could say that, or he's a good golfer, if you want to go there. But I dislike the shit out of Trump, and I feel like he should pay for the terrible things he's done. Right? So, when people say things about, when Erykah Badu says this about Trump, about Hitler, or Bill Cosby, like, yeah, Hitler was a painter. I don't know if he was a good painter or a bad painter, but she liked his paintings well enough. It was like, okay, they're pretty good. I've heard people say, actually, these aren't that bad. So he was a good painter. And then in that instance, which he was painting, in which he was doing his thing, he was at the same time, he was the guy who committed that terrible genocide, and also the person who painted a great picture. He was both of those things at that point in time. Mm-hmm. But that does not make him, like, definitively eternally evil. He's a bad person. He did terrible things. And he should be, and he should have been punished with them. I just don't. And my biggest issue with this article was mostly the response that people gave, which was such a hateful thing. Like, how dare she say that Hitler was a good person? People called her, said she was promoting the Nazi agenda or promoting.
Pretty extreme, man.
Right. From this, they were like, oh, and. I don't know. It's crazy to me, like, how people get so. But you're right, man. It's because people are so sensitive nowadays. It's like, how do you?
And plus, I don't really put that much stock into. I don't understand why people put so much stock into
an artist.
What celebrities say, you know what I mean? Even Dave Chappelle had that shit on his stand-up once. He was like, after 9/11. He said he was looking at CNN, and they said, let's go live to Ja Rule. Let's see what Ja Rule has to say on this tragedy. Who gives a fuck what Ja Rule has to say at the time like this? You know what I mean? But it was just funny because, like, why are people get so upset with Erykah Badu and her opinion over this? Like, it's her opinion, She's a celebrity. Like, She's not in any political form of office, or so what does it matter so much? I mean, but people do. They get upset over what certain people say, and
It's just opinions, man.
It's
okay.
Just an opinion. I mean, honestly, since we're going to get on Trump, even what Trump says, yes, he's the president, but Donald Trump doesn't know how to be president of the United States, right? Like, he's been there for a couple months now, but he doesn't.
It's been a year.
Oh, a year, but he doesn't know what he's doing, right? Like, he's never been in that position before, so you have to imagine that there's somebody coming in who... So why do people get so upset when Donald Trump says, we're going to rain fire and fury on fucking North Korea or whatever it is? You know what I mean?
It's not,
why are you so upset? Like, he don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Because
people know that.
He's a person with power, right? That's different. Erykah Badu doesn't
Donald
have
Trump
power.
do not know what the hell he's talking
Erykah
about.
Badu doesn't have power.
Also, the repercussions of what Donald Trump says, though, could affect us.
Yeah,
I don't think
they
so.
reflect across the entire. They reflect the United States.
It's the opinions of one man. I think
He's
systems.
a very powerful man.
The lead man.
He's
like
powerful
the
man.
points man.
He's the lead man.
The point man.
He's the lead man. But we
if
all
you have
know
a bad point guard in your team, and he's just
you know
doing
who
terrible things.
You know who the most powerful
whole
person
team's
on the
gonna
team
suffer.
is? It's not the point guard. It's the owner. You know what I mean? So Donald Trump can be the point man only once.
So say the owner,
the person out
team
in front,
said you guys are only training half the time.
The person out in front is never really the most powerful person. I mean, if you're talking about like a tribal kind of aspect, maybe because the tribal leader would be the most powerful person.
Let's talk
right?
about in the context of the game.
But
the point
Donald
guard
Trump is not the most powerful person in government. I think systems and groups of people who are able to implement systems are more powerful than Donald Trump. He's the point man.
Which are we talking about? All right, here we are.
Well,
we're here now. So the point guard in the game in basketball, he's what?
He distributes the ball.
Right. So say that person gives it to the person who's either not ready for it or who's not. I don't do basketball.
But that point guard,
he's not, or hands it to the worst person, or hands it to the person who's actually not working for the other team.
Okay, but that point guard is a member of the team.
This is a terrible analogy.
The point guard is a member of the team. There's still a team owner, and that team owner is way more powerful than that. The team owner can kick the player out. You know what I mean?
But in the
team
context
owner
of the game,
I'm getting
right?
somebody else. And that's
like
what the presidency
in the
is.
Square, on the court.
But that's what the presidency is right now, right?
Like he's the point guard. He's the reference. If he's making terrible decisions, the whole team is going to fail.
His decisions are not his own. You know what I mean? Like the president of the United States decisions are not his. Maybe what he says on Twitter, but what he actually does and the policies that he implements, is not his own thinking. And
why not?
Real quick before we end the cast.
No, why not?
I know we were saying we didn't want to run this too long, okay? Well, I'm going to jump into this. I had an article from freethoughtproject.com. There's an author of more than 100 books, a guy named Noam Chomsky. And he had an interview recently.
Pretty respected philosopher in our day and age.
Mm-hmm. He had an interview that says Trump is being used as a distraction by the deep state to systematically destroy America. And I know that sounds kind of like hokey and conspiracy theorist type talk and all that stuff. But let's go into a definition of what the deep state is, and we can kind of talk about what
is the
we
deep
think
state?
it is. And this is according to Wikipedia. Deep state in the United States. In the United States, the term deep state describes a form of alleged cabal that coordinates efforts by government employees and others to influence state policy without regard for democratically elected leadership. Totally true. Because we don't democratically elect who's a member of Donald Trump's cabinet is, or who we don't elect the Attorney General of the United States. Those people are appointed, you know. But those are some of the most powerful people we have in this country and in government, you know. So is there a deep state? I would say maybe yes, because it's so easy to control things with a deep state, you know. Like,
so
you can change out the head man. You can change out the head man, but as long as the agenda stays the same amongst these other agencies of government, what's really changing, you know? What's changing?
So they're saying that the deep state is Donald Trump's cabinet, like Rex Tillerson, and
it's part of it. Okay, let me finish the definition.
Party right now. So the deep state is essentially whoever is appointed to these positions of power by the president.
Now, this is according to Wikipedia. It's a cabal that coordinates efforts by government employees. So if you elect the Attorney General and you elect the head of the Department of Agriculture and all that, you sit these guys in the room and say, hey, these are the kind of policies we want to implement. These are the things that we think will yield the best results for us as a whole. And they go back out to their respective departments and do those things. That's a deep state, right? I mean, you're not democratically voting on what they do once they're in those offices. They just do the shit.
But isn't the idea that because you elected the president who makes a final decision on these things, right? Like, isn't that, like, that's what they say. Like, or by they, I mean, I guess opposing sides. So they will say that those positions of the head of the EPA, the head of the financial departments, or whatever, like, those people are elected or put in position by the president, and the president's elected. So by electing the president, you're saying that you are okay with his election.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying that's my position. I mean, I feel like it's foolish that we have somebody like Betsy DeVos in the position of education.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, I feel like those are ridiculous. But if we're talking about what the deep state is, right? Like, is that not, like, elected by extension?
By extension, yes, but not by direct action. Not by, like the president of the United States is, you know?
No.
I've been on record saying this before. If this was a true
if you're
democracy,
talking about deep state, I'll say
every issue that would affect the American public economy as a whole would be voted on, you know?
Yeah,
and the idea that you can't let everybody participate in the process of governing or in the process of implementing policy
in this day
is
and
a real
age,
idea, because not everybody is qualified, right? Like, you don't want people who are not qualified in medical assistance working in an ambulance, right? Like, you want people who are qualified to be in that position, right? So the idea that you can't let the public in mass participate in governing everybody, it makes sense almost on maybe not like a primal level, but on a societal level, it kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, we hear you, we know what you want, now let us go over here and debate what we're going to do, you know? That's kind of the way things work. I mean, even on your job, it works that way. Like, you don't vote on things that happen. They have a meeting at the top between your supervisor or your manager or whoever the district manager, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And then those decisions are passed down to you, and you have to follow those rules. So, you know, that idea is very real and it's there. But
I think our form of government needs to change to make it like, if it were true democracy, we can do it. I can see in the past where you would need electoral colleges or whatnot. Like, the whole electoral college system, to me, would be a definition of a deep state.
It's way outdated.
Like, if it's like, why is that even a thing right now?
Why is that even necessary?
But the
why
fact
is it even
that
necessary?
Then this day and age, when everybody has the means to vote either electronically or by some of the means, we have the manpower and the resource and able to create a system where we can have every person in the country who's willing to vote on a particular issue in the government. Mm-hmm. We can have that. They don't want to implement that. So if that's what the deep state is, then okay, I can see what that is. But at the same time, we're talking about people's qualifications. Like you just said a minute ago, man, Trump doesn't know how to be president.
The difference,
like, there's a qualification is a very important thing, right? I feel like qualifications are important.
Oh, it definitely is. And Donald Trump was not qualified to be president of the United States when he decided he was going to run.
But he was voted in.
And he was by the Electoral College. By
Electoral College, which I would argue is a deep state machine.
This thing, his definition on Wikipedia also says, the term deep state gained popularity in some circles during the 2016 U.S. presidential election in opposition to establishment Republican and Democratic candidates, and has also been used in 2017 and 2018 during the Trump administration by commentators who argue that the deep states are aiming to delegitimize the Trump presidency.
80% gorilla, 80% pig, 80% man.
Which he's definitely being delegitimized because Donald Trump is being characterized as kind of like an idiot, you know, kind of like, oh, he just says stuff, don't mind him, you know, he just puts shit on Twitter, you know, so don't mind him, you know. So U.S. government, man, is too big, man. It's too big to just have one person be the most powerful. I always lean towards who's paying this shit. Boyce Watkins said this about the Black History Museum. Who's paying for it? Because whoever's paying for it and putting up the finances for it, you know, is the person who decides what gets to be presented in that museum, you know? And
maybe.
Honestly, where is the money?
It depends, man.
Who
if it's a crowdfunding, do people get to decide exactly what's happening when they crowdfund something? Like if we're talking about for a museum, and
that,
people are
that's a
forced to
very
put money-
minuscule amount of the funding, though. I mean, you'll triple that funding from one donor. You know what I mean? Like the crowdfunding, like you might get $500 from one donor. You get 500,000. You know what I mean? So
Ooh, and there we
they have the majority decision on who
our current governmental system, in which we need individual donors to fund campaigns. So who gets funding from these campaigns? The people who play nice with the corporations, the people who have the most money to donate. And if you don't play nice, then you don't get funding for your campaign. It means you don't get airtime. You don't get your position. You don't get any.
You know, I'm always like the Trump defender on the cast here on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, episode 32. But I'm not going to defend Trump. I think he's an idiot, and you know, I didn't vote for him. Matter of fact, for that matter, I didn't vote for Hillary either.
He's a good golfer,
I like Hillary. But you have to admit that something's wrong in government when, at least I'll say this much for Donald Trump. At least we knew who the hell he was before he was president of the United States. You know, at least we knew him, and we had some reference to the stuff that he did before he was president. You know, like who heard of Barack Obama before he was candidate for the president of the United States? Like I'm sure people heard of him over in Chicago. He was, you know, senator, and what was he in Chicago? Was Barack Obama a senator? You have to be a senator to be president, right?
Apparently not. If you're Trump.
Well, yeah.
I was gonna say apparently not.
Right. So,
but he was though. Yes.
The one thing about Trump is he's a Washington outsider. Alex Jones said this. He's a Washington outsider. He don't have a lot of political connections inside Washington, as like Hillary did. So Hillary would have more of a reason to support a particular agenda or direction of thinking because she's intermixed and interwoven into the politics in Washington D.C. You know, whereas Trump, he's coming in, he don't know anybody. People are like, oh, this motherfucker's an idiot. You know what I mean? So he kind of is really more on the edge and trying to do what he wants to do. You know,
but it's like I don't think the outsider is a thing that kind of makes a good person like a good candidate, right? Like I think it matters. I think being an outsider matters, especially in this day and age when people are tired of the status quo. But I feel like Bernie Sanders is not an outsider. He knows he's been involved in this in quite a while, and he's been on the right side of issues for the longest of times. Mm-hmm. And you can look at his voting record, and you can look
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, he's been on the right side of things, and I think that matters almost more than being an outsider. When an outsider, you kind of don't really know what you're gonna get. Like with Trump, Trump said a lot of shit. Obama said a lot of really progressive, popular shit. That's why he got elected over Hillary. Because even then, Hillary was wrong. She was still status quo, right? She was too involved, right? She was too looking for a baseline. She didn't want change. She liked how things were going. Obama came. He was like, "Look, we need to change this shit." And everyone was like,
in this motherfucker.
And then they were like, "He's right, we do." And I think Trump did. He did the same thing, even though we said both things. He also said we need change, and people were like, "Yeah," because she doesn't want change.
It can't be no worse than it is right now.
Yeah, you know. So like, fuck it, let's change it. So
but
real quick, referencing an article real quick, there's a part in here.
But Bernie Sanders is a part of the process right now. He's a part of the government right now, and he's also saying he wants change.
I love.
So you want somebody who's on the inside saying, "Yes, I'm looking from the inside out, and this shit needs to change."
I love the way Bernie Sanders is still staying relevant after the whole, the race ended, because like you said, he had a town hall meeting the other day, and the whole government shutdown thing and all that shit going on.
He's constantly proposing.
But I love the way he's staying in the public eye.
But he's been like that though, even before.
Yeah, but I think like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and shit like that just helps out so much now, because we don't have to pay attention to the TV, and who they put in front of us. We can go on Facebook and watch. Yeah, I know, right? That's the only downside.
It's like, damn it, man! I want you to survive to 2020, and I want you to survive. Like at least 2040, man. Yeah. Like we need you.
At least 2020 and 2024.
You're right, man. We need you, man. Hang in there.
So there's a part in the article where Noam Chomsky says that in which he breaks down how U.S. corporate media has been weaponized as a means of controlling public opinion by propagandizing the American people. Which is I completely agree with. The corporate media is a weapon
because
they could. funding, and they shape people's opinions. Usually what you first see on the news is what you tend to believe, you know.
Dude, every commercial the corporate media runs, right? CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Who's funding these shows? Why do these anchors get millions of dollars?
Crazy.
Why? How?
How does a news anchor get $2 million a year? Like,
exactly.
News anchor.
You're a news anchor.
You just read.
Shouldn't you be paying like paramedics, or people who work in hospitals?
If you want to keep them in your pocket, if you don't want the truth, then you keep paying them. And that's what these corporations want. They don't like the talk of free healthcare, of universal healthcare. They don't like that talk. They're and how many semestra whatever kind of medical products do you see on their commercials, man? Is every other episode or every other commercial.
And Noam Chomsky goes on to say in an interview, quote, "It's pretty remarkable fact that, first of all, we're a joke. Half the world is cracking up in laughter. The United States doesn't just interfere in elections, it overthrows governments it doesn't like, institutes military dictatorships." So
yeah, that's Noam Chomsky right there.
That was what Noam Chomsky had to say. But that's true, you know, and we're talking about that Russia interfere in the election to get Trump elected, and, you know, like the world itself is a cabal. Like we went to the Black History Museum yesterday, right? They never tell you the role of the banks in all these depressions and these wars, and, you know, how did the North get money to fund the army if the South had all the money? South had all the agricultural, you know,
they did talk about the bonding,
manpower.
like how they could bond back slaves or get mortgages on slaves, but that was minor.
Yeah, but they had all the slavery, they had all the production. The North had factories, and you know, the South could sell raw materials anywhere. You know, tobacco, hemp, cotton, sugar. You could sell that shit anywhere. You know, like how did the North get money? So you obviously have to know that maybe there was a bank, maybe the Bank of England or whatever came over and said, "Hey, you know, we'll give you this much money if you pledge us this or do that." You know, they never tell you the roles of the banks in history. Coming out of the Great Depression, right? What role did the banks play in the Great Depression? And I'm not talking about like the banks like Capital One. I'm talking about like these big banks, you know, Morgan Chase and fucking, you know, these big fucking banking cabals,
financial institutions that have been kind of
that have been around for 150, 200 years, you know? Like these guys are like, you know, it's bigger than we can perceive. Yeah, I heard something crazy yesterday that like the government, like maybe not the government, but there is technology that's at least 100 and 150 years more advanced than we even think is possible, available right now. Like the only time the military or the government gives technology to the public is when there's not a military application for it, right? So like when they're done with it, oh, you guys can have that shit now, you know? So
that's what happened with the internet.
It's crazy.
That's how we got the internet, man.
I'm like, are we really that much more advanced in technology than
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I mean,
that's what the alternative cast when we talked about like Area 51 and stuff. Sure, yeah. I'm sure there's stuff out there that we don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, we did catch a video of the pilots talking about spacecrafts. How many of those spacecrafts actually got taken down? Right? How much technology did we pull, or could we pull? If we're talking, I mean, I'm talking about like Independence Day type science fiction here. But hey, it could happen. You know, it could happen, and maybe that's what we got.
District 9, maybe some of those guns.
Yeah, you know, like they're cloned. They about to start clone. Oh yeah, they just cloned the first primates. You know. Like, where did that technology come from?
And what was the issue? Stuff that
and how
they've been able to do.
What's the end goal, right? So,
they first successfully did it. How come we didn't hear about, like, when they first started?
Yeah. All we heard about was a sheep. And then I didn't even know they were having issues cloning monkeys. Because nobody knew they were trying to clone monkeys. This is in China. But nobody knew they were trying to clone monkeys. And all of a sudden, hey, we cloned a monkey.
And a lot of this shit is
cloning monkeys?
It's not in the government sector.
What?
A lot of this shit is not in the government sector. It's in the hands of private owners and corporations, you know, who are doing these experiments. So maybe the government doesn't even know anything about it, you know. Maybe the government doesn't know anything about it until they can. There's a military application for it, and they can sell it to
Like these private corporations are making this, they're doing the technology, and then who are they gonna sell it to? The government.
Yeah.
And if they can't sell it to the government, then sell
why
it to
does the government buy it? Either for
you know what? I hate to go back to Star Wars, but just like the arms dealers.
Yeah,
they were selling to
that
both
was
sides.
a powerful point in that movie. That was a great point in that movie.
Both sides.
It was a great point.
Both sides, man.
It was a great point. One more thing on Chomsky. He says, further along in the interview, says, quote, "What's going on is a very systematic two-tiered operation. One of them is Trump banning the effort to try to make sure you capture the headlines, that you're top of the news, one crazy thing after another just to capture people's attention. And the assumption with all of that is the people are just going to forget later anyway." Which is totally fucking true, because that's just the human, I'm going to say the human, but the American attention span is just not very long. Like, we'll care about something this week and then we won't care 2 weeks later. You know, last week there was a government shutdown. What's it going to be in 2 weeks? You know, who the fuck knows, you know? So you'll put up that Trump said this stupid thing about football players just to capture headlines for a little while and distract people. You know, it goes further along to say that while everyone is focusing on that, the attention that's taken away by Trump, the Paul Ryan Republicans, who are, in my view, and this is Chomsky saying this, who are, in my view, the most dangerous and savage group in the country, are busy implementing programs that they have been quietly talking about for years. Very savage programs, which have very simple principles. One, to be sure to offer the rich and powerful gifts beyond the dreams of the avarice.
Tax.
And two, kick everyone else in the face. And it's going on step by step right behind your back.
That's a systematic deconstruction of our democratic system.
And
they're giving the money away to these large corporations.
Look at the tax
There
breaks.
will be a two-tier system. There's already a two-tier system, but it's just becoming more defined. And it's very obvious. There was an article that came out last week. Nobody covered it in this whole Trump BS debacle, right? It came out related, and it was related to the the whole government shutdown situation with the Democrats and Republicans trying to come up with a spending bill. So this was part of it in the House bill. This is a quote from the article from The Intercept. Top Republican warns that under the new spending bill, the intelligence community could expand federal. Dang it, I didn't have the whole. Whatever. Okay, so here's a quote from the article. The provision appeared in the House version of the spending bill last week that first chartered the CIA. The law that first chartered the CIA. It removed language that was requiring intelligence communities to spend money according to Congress instructions, and replaced it with the provision that allows the agencies to move money around freely and without Congress's knowledge. In other words, and this is my words, it said, in other words, CIA can put money into any project they want. And not just the CIA, namely the CIA, but other government organizations. Any project without any regulation and absolutely unaccountable. This means that we were talking about COINTEL in the past, during the civil rights era, how they were recording indiscretions of these political leaders, both in the civil rights movements and in the other political manner, and they will release them to try to smear these leaders, right? So that was when that's what the CIA was doing. When they had some kind of regulation, they had to be accountable to Congress.
Right.
This spending bill makes it so they can fund any project without any accountability, you don't have to tell anybody, completely off the books. Like, the implications of this are ridiculous. Trump can have his own little personal army if he wanted to, and it will be absolutely off the books with no kind of insight. Like, it's shit like that's happening. I think that's what this kind of stuff.
The shit that makes you mad about it is because
it's voted in. Somebody voted this in,
and somebody's paying for it somewhere. Where's a lot of that money come from? Is through taxation. You know, when a lot of these businesses are, hoarding money overseas so they don't have to pay taxes here. You know, I mean,
it's tax savings.
It's ridiculous, man. I mean, the tax cuts that this guy gave out to these corporations. I work at a job. They got such a big tax relief, tax cut in this tax relief program that they are giving out to associates based upon tenure, how long you've been there. Mm-hmm. They're giving you money because they got such a big tax break that they're just giving you money. And like, literally, if you've been there 20 years, you get $1,000. Like, they're just like, oh, here, you know. So imagine what this company got in the total tax break if they're just willing to give out money to people that have been there a certain amount of time.
But here's the thing. It's not just
These
that. Because that's
probably got billions of dollars.
Because Walmart was bragging about this. They're giving like bonuses to people.
Home Depot.
Yeah, they're talking about giving bonuses to people who've been there for this amount of time, right? Yeah. But at the same
just
time, Walmart shut down a whole other branch of stores. They shut down the Sam's Club stores. They shut down like 40 stores.
Shit, that shit in Woodbridge is still kicking.
Yeah. It is? Okay, cool. But I'm saying, they shut down like 40 stores across the country. How many employees lost their jobs?
True that.
At what point? Mm-hmm. And so you're saying, oh, we're using this tax break money to make lives better for our employees when you just fired a huge group of employees.
You know what I think feeds that particular part, only with Sam's Club, is like, people don't want to pay for that membership. You know, and even though it's only like, what, a year membership for whatever.
Works, so. We don't need two, though.
That joint Sam's Club is still kicking, though. That shit is still there.
Woodbridge?
Yeah. Yep, right across from Potomac Mills. But yeah, I did hear that, too, that they shut down a bunch of those.
Yeah. I mean, I heard they're like discontinuing the Sam's Club thing. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not going to be doing it much longer. But I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that...
Maybe it's because Walmart is so profitable. It's like...
The biggest issue with the tax breaks that they handed out to these corporations was that while they said it was so they can produce more jobs and pay people better, none of that was written into the legislation, was written into the law.
Right. So
right?
It's just, what they say is going to happen.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll do it. They don't have to do it. There's no accountability. Because as soon as they don't do it, there's nothing you can say. Like, what are you going to say? Hey,
our money, we do whatever we want.
Yeah, you didn't provide these jobs for that. Well, we changed our mind. This and that and whatever excuse.
Which is totally backwards thinking of a
more yachts to
strong
buy.
Economy and a capitalist system. Is like, how do you have a strong economy where people are able to spend money if you're not creating jobs? And not only that, you're taking them away. You know, and we just said earlier in the cast, we're kind of in this area, we're a little more sheltered, but you go down to Richmond, man, you see the poverty, man. You see some areas, you go down there and you just see it. Like, and maybe
Baltimore,
these people in the...
DC, Baltimore.
Yeah, DC, Baltimore.
Maybe these people in the hood, I don't want to say the hood, but maybe like lower income people will be more willing to do productive things if they had like constructive means to focus their time in, like, you know, i.e. a job, you know?
Or a job that pays reasonably.
Why is there job deletion when you need job creation, you know? Like... It helps to keep people occupied. It puts food on the table. People seem to be satisfied in their lives. Like, it just seems so stupid. It's like such a basic thing. Like, why are you taking away jobs?
This is a meme I saw recently.
You have to do things to strengthen the economy, man.
I'll say you have to take every meme with a grain of salt, right? Do your own research. But this is a meme.
Shit. When the fuck did the whole meme thing start, though? Because some of them jokes be funny as hell.
It's a compressed idea and put into
like we have somebody's face.
A sizable package.
When something happens.
But it says the average U.S. rent is $1,234 a month. For rent to cost less than a quarter of income, as suggested, you need, for that $1,234 a month, you need to make $4,924 a month. How many people you know make that? At 40 hours a week, that's $30.77 an hour. I don't know who makes that much money. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. So he's like, how are you forcing? How is minimum wage that they don't want to raise $7.25, and the average rent in the United States is $1,000?
At that point, it's basic mathematics. You know, and that's just rent.
Doesn't add up.
Groceries or daycare or
and 40 hours a week. If you're working 40 hours a week, you can't make that. Let alone have two jobs. You're gonna work 80 hours a week to be able to maintain your house.
It's like your apartment is not keeping up with the system. So like, you're not keeping up with inflation, cost of living.
They said if minimum wage was tied to inflation, the minimum wage, if it was tied to inflation, it would be $22 an hour.
And that's why I always go with conspiracy theories when it comes to like the government and everything, because
it's not a conspiracy theory. There's math backs it up.
If you see these things happening and they don't do anything about it, matter of fact, they do things to make it worse. Mm-hmm. Isn't that a conspiracy theory? I mean, isn't that a sure sign that people don't care if the economy crashes?
Yeah,
or they don't
it's
care
a purposeful, decision somebody's making to do that, right? Like, I feel you on that one. Like, somebody's making a decision, like, yeah, we don't care about that.
Yeah, we don't care about school programs and education and shit.
We don't care about minimum wage and like, having...
we know that you can't make enough money to support yourself, but we don't care.
You can work 40 hours a week and not be able to afford rent.
That's why.
We don't care.
There has
to
be some diabolical plan at the
I don't think so, though. I think it's human nature.
I saw something like actually human inflation, like the population doubling happens like every. I mean, this interview I saw was like back in the 70s. So they said that every like 30 or 40 years the population on the Earth doubles, and they said that every time it doubles, the year span in between gets a couple of years shorter. So 40 years it'll double, in 34 years it'll double again, in 28 years it'll double again. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
So it's like
that's exponential.
When you have that kind of population growth, you have to do things to kind of curb the demand on resources. Wood and fuel and fucking food and man, it's crazy, man. The world is diabolical, man. But if human beings were able to just reproduce and spawn at will, right? Wouldn't we run out of resources? Yeah. That'd be dangerous.
We're about to run out of resources.
But how do you tell people that they can't have children? You can't be human. You can't live.
They said that, so Terrence McKenna actually talks about this. Y'all know I love Terrence McKenna. I always bring Terrence McKenna up.
Yeah, where have I seen him? I love YouTube.
Yeah, Terrence McKenna's great, but I've seen some videos, man. Don't let me start. Mm-hmm. But so Terrence McKenna, he brought up he talked about this, and this was like back in the 90s, and he was like, so because of how the human population is constantly exponentially growing, and that the resources used by an American family is orders of magnitude greater than any other like group of people anywhere else in the world.
You can tell that on trash days. I mean, look at all the fucking trash people throw out. Like, dude, stuff you have.
We have to throw trash every other day, and this is just two of us in here, right? This is two of us. Our
consumption is crazy.
But it's like he was saying that if they had a program I don't know if it was a government program or some kind of program that incentivized women to have one child, like just one child. And he's saying that's all it would take. If every woman had one natural child, right, then that would, first off, limit our growth, right, limit our population, and then it would begin to decline over time. If every woman had only one natural born child, and that if we somehow subsidize this behavior, like if you have one child, you get a tax break. But if you have two children or whatever,
you gotta pay taxes.
Or something, or it's somehow like detrimental to you. Mm-hmm. Like, you can do it if you want, and that's fine. But because of our population situation, because it's actually a dire situation in which we are reaching the limits of what this planet can provide, then it would be at least a system. I'm saying it's the best system, but it's an interesting thing to talk about or to think about. If every woman had only one natural child.
See, I wouldn't like that though, because like,
that's what China's doing.
Yeah, you don't want to force it though. But that's the thing. Like, you don't want to do what they did. They were like, just you have a daughter, right? Uh-huh. Now, something happened, and you guys are about to have another kid. You wouldn't like them coming in and saying, "Well, you shouldn't have this other kid," because if you do, like if you want that other kid, you want it. That's a human thing. It's to reproduce, and just but that's the thing. You can't limit.
Because of freedom, you don't want to tell them, look, if you have another kid, we're gonna kill you, or you're going to jail. Yeah. We don't want that. Like, it's still, we gotta have freedom, right? It's America, goddammit. I mean, you could have at least kids. For now. But this is like America. It's America for now. But at the same time, it's like you want to make it you see the need and the priority to limit. Yeah. Like, yes, you can have children. We want you to reproduce. But you realize that this is going to be a problem. You slide in the contract, you're going to have to pay this amount of money. But so what was China's thing? Were they like? Was it like a?
I just remember they just had one
child. One child policy,
man. I thought it was two.
But was it like, were they forcing people to kill their kids? Because I remember there being a situation where a lot of people were actually killing kids or were abandoning children, like daughters or whatever, namely daughters that they didn't want.
Which you can't see. I can't really see that happening. You know, like China is a different place, a different culture, but human beings love their children.
They definitely, you know, they took that policy away.
I think even the population of China, once they came out with that rule and like you can't have so many kids, people were like, what? I mean, you mean I'm telling I can't have a kid? You know, I got 3 already. I'm damn sure gonna have another one if I get pregnant. I'm not aborting. You know, what if people can't afford abortion, or you know, you get pregnant, you don't know it? I don't know. It's just how can you even enforce that rule that you can't have so many kids? Like.
Yeah, I don't know the details on that.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would enforce that. I can't think of any situation in
a tax situation, though.
Human
like
history
if
where you were able to limit
kids, then people will at least be more mindful.
Look, I bet you back in Slave Day, they love when these niggas had kids, though. Yeah, have another one. You know what I mean? You pregnant? I mean, damn. Have a kid, that was money.
Oh, it's cringeworthy.
Yeah, it's cringeworthy. But yeah, it's crazy. It's something to think about. You know, we had to reference Trump at least one time, episode 32. Tez and Idea Talkers, where we have no answers. It's the Trump Idea Talkers podcast.
We were talking about Erykah Badu and somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, can we go back to Trump? God damn it. Because you said Trump's not responsible for the things he says.
He is. As far as Twitter, he's not responsible for, like, any policies that he's trying to implement, because I don't think Trump knows anything about.
I don't think he knows
running
enough.
Government and running a business is
agree.
almost two different things. Because
like with climate change, like he doesn't know enough about it.
He doesn't know.
So definitely it has to be his cabinet. There has to be people pushing him and talking to him.
But the thing is, he comes to these conclusions on his own,
Same
or at
thing
least. If he has time to listen and talk to Alex Jones and watch Fox, that's the thing. He watches Fox News a significant amount of time. How much of that is his cabinet and how much of that is the Fox News propaganda machine? I don't know. Like, I've heard that his cabinet is like, well, you probably shouldn't say shit like this, and he'll say it fucking anyway. Because he's stupid.
I would hope that a lot of these mogul types, and that's the thing with Donald Trump, is like, he was a mogul for a president. Like, it's weird. Like, if they can make Donald Trump president, who the fuck can? I mean, they might as well make Denzel Washington president.
Oprah.
You know what I mean? Oprah could be president. But she's rich. She got more money than Donald Trump. Make Michael Jordan president, you know? Like, to me, making Donald Trump president.
Making celebrities
and I said this when they found out Donald Trump was running. I never thought he would win in a million years. I was like, he's just there just to entertain people. He says crazy shit. People like to watch him. And I'm like, if you can make Donald Trump president.
Fire and Fury? So, you know that new book that came out, Fire and Fury. They said that when he won, like, Ivanka Trump started crying and shit. And, like, Melania Trump, they were crying. And Trump was like, he was surprised as shit. That's why he didn't have anything ready when he had to make decisions, because he didn't expect to win.
They said he went to his penthouse in New York.
He didn't expect to win. Nobody expected to win.
He was probably like, I did?
He was like, what? I won? That goes to show how terrible of a candidate Hillary was.
It's crazy, man.
She lost, and he won on accident.
Hillary failed to inspire anybody. But, like, again, I've been on record as saying they're two sides of the same coin. If she'd have won, I don't think it would have changed much as far as, like, what is going on in the world now. You know, let's talk about change. When we say change, when we want change, like, us three at this table, what kind of change would you like to see? Like, we'd like to get paid more at work. Sure, you know, I could take another $3, $4, $5 an hour. Why not, you know? What kind of change do we want, you know?
Healthcare is very important.
A minimum wage tied to inflation.
I think universal healthcare might be a
equal access to resources like water.
Might not bad because it makes you dependent.
Country with,
makes you dependent though. You're dependent upon these people for your healthcare.
Are we not now?
You are, but
it'll be much
quite literally.
You pay for what you get.
The access is not equal. Like the cost is not the same. The services and quality is not the same. Like you go to a corner clinic. It's not gonna be the same as going to like a nice hospital.
No, of course. Yeah.
So I mean, like, but that's all that we have access to. That's
what you
That's it. Yeah.
I heard some crazy theory like the elites have access to anti-aging technology where like they'll do like money. Blood
they have
infusions.
Access to anything that's available.
They'll like switch out their blood and it like keeps them young, you know, and like a vampire kind of thing. Yeah, it's crazy.
I heard you have blood transfusions, but it's like dialysis and stuff. Like I don't know,
like blood dialysis.
I don't know about that.
Do you guys put any stock into, are we further along technologically than we think that we even are?
I think
I mean, what do we think the pinnacle of technology is now? Like drones and shit, you know? Surveillance, space technology, satellites. I mean, what if they have the technology to like... I mean, what if a lot of the UFO sightings we see are just them testing spaceships and shit? Like, what if those are American or
what if that was like a
earthly made
like the pilot was freaking out. It was like, what is this thing? And it was just like a private company. It was like
Elon
Musk. It was like Elon Musk and that Joe testing this dude.
Oh shit, my bad.
His dude, he was like, oh shit, they got me.
Honks.
So right angle, right turns in the air and shit.
That's wild, man. You know, I was watching
90-degree turns and shit.
I guess we can come to the end soon if you guys want to. I was watching earlier this week, man, and I was watching something on like the Triassic and the Jurassic period and like the length of time that these things happen. You know, 138 million years and shit. I'm like,
millions of years.
138 fucking million years. Like, how can we ever know the truth of life and like of ourselves and of the world? We don't live but a blip in time, you know. The U.S. is not even 300 years old. You know what I mean? Like, this shit has been happening over millions of years. You know what I mean? Like, evolution happens over millions of years to the point we are right now. But what the fuck is the point? It made me wonder, like, what's the point of everything? Like, what's the point of trying to figure out what the fuck Trump is doing if we don't, like, fucking 138 million years from now, it's going to be a fucking another period in time. You know what I'm saying?
Like, kids, so your kids can live better?
That shit just kind of blew my mind. I was like, 138 million fucking years. And I think it was more than that. It's like fucking 600 million years and shit. What the fuck?
That's another couple million.
That shit blew my head off. I was like, bruh, like, what does it... However long I'm going to live, whatever it is, 80 years, whatever, 55, 60 years.
It said the planet
nothing
is like,
in comparison
like
to the rest of the world.
Years old. Like, it's the age of the planet, right?
I mean, a fucking tree will live longer than you. It's crazy, man. Shit.
Yeah.
Human beings suck. I hope
but
that
Anunnaki are real. But hold up. But let me get into culture.
This might be another cast.
Because culture is that it's the one thing humans have that animals don't have, right? Culture. So that's a compiling of our information that we've obtained. And while most cultures don't have data or a history that's longer than a few hundred years old, which, as you said, in the scheme of things is a blip. It's just a blip. It's not even a blip.
That shit blew my head off. I was like,
but it's like at the same time, we can learn a lot. And if your culture is based on science, I mean, I feel like if you can survive the coming next wave of change, then
and it makes you question history.
You'll have like, more.
How much shit don't you know that just wasn't recorded or wasn't recorded as actual history?
Maybe the planet used to be flat.
Jesus, man.
It's round now.
Human beings, man, we don't know shit. We think we're like the pinnacle of civilization and this is like the furthest we've ever been. But we don't know a goddamn thing, man. We don't know shit about the world. Like,
maybe the planet used to be round and it's flat now.
Maybe it's
that is a very interesting theory, though.
Maybe the world is flattening.
You saw that video I sent to the group of like how deep the ocean is. Yeah, and, like that joint went level by level, and like Mount Everest would be. I mean, like the fucking ocean. We don't even know shit about the ocean. You know what I mean? What the fuck is down there?
Godzilla.
The Kraken.
That shit is an alien world, man.
It might be the lost civilization of Atlantis.
Be up here flossing the Natural History Museum
my slap bracelet. You know what I mean? National African American History Museum. National Museum of African American History and Culture. Let me get that right.
That's what this is all there.
Yeah, man, I had to get a little slap bracelet. That's hard. Slap that shit on. What else I buy? I bought a Muhammad Ali shirt. That just says "float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." I bought another shirt. I didn't see that jump. Yeah, I bought another jump that had like history and culture or some shit on there. It was cool. I had to get some stuff from over there.
I just saw the shirts with the logos.
I wanted to get more, man. I wanted that goblet. I wanted that fucking cup, man. That shit was $55 for that joint, man. That shit better been hand carved. I think it was. That shit was expensive.
Somebody in that jump.
For real, man.
Put sandpaper in that jump.
I wanted that joint, man. That shit had been like,
you know what I'm saying?
If that shit had been like $35, I might have got it. $55, damn, man. That's my light bill. Yeah, can't do that shit for a goblet.
Turn off your lights for a couple weeks.
For real.
Go back.
So shit, I'm about to take this light bill money and buy this goblet. Drink it in the dark, yo. Hell yeah. Hey, but it's fresh. Fucking wine is good as shit out this goblet. But yeah, man, it's just, you know, we gotta have our existential conspiracy theory cast at
Yeah.
Alternative
cast. Yeah, our existential alternative cast. So,
indubitably.
Existential alternative idea.
Because I want to get back on this whole Anunnaki thing, man.
that.
It's like, I love YouTube. I say it every cast, but it's just like, man, we don't know shit, man. Like, our oldest recorded history comes from the Sumerians, which is only 5,000 years ago. And then you look at something like the Triassic period.
Years ago.
That shit was 145 billion years, whatever the fuck it was. Like, damn, we don't know shit.
Well, what I always say, like, humans only been in this form for like maybe 200,000 years, man. We only had fingers like these for 200,000 years.
No,
that's not long.
What the fuck was going on for millions of years before we had fingers?
Dinosaurs.
We don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like,
woolly mammoths.
Wouldn't it be cool if we could go back and see it? I think the only way we'll ever know is if we have a time machine, man. It's the only way we'll ever know. And you hear stories when you talk about the Anunnaki about, you know, world catastrophes and floods, and every religion and, you know, in the human world has a flood story of an ancient flood. And you look at podcasts like Joe Rogan, and he's talking to geologists about how they had this ancient disaster, maybe some meteorite hitting the earth and fucking flood scarring in the states of Oregon and fucking Montana and Idaho and shit. It's like,
the way the land's laid out.
What the fuck happened? We don't know. And that's the thing, man. We don't know, man.
All that shit was underwater.
And it's sad that people will pay more attention to Trump calling somebody an idiot in the media than wondering about where do we come from, man. That's the more interesting question. Like,
I think they're both important, though.
Trump would stand no chance against the Anunnaki.
I wouldn't say like we should just focus on where we all came from. That's the thing.
Of course not, because we live in the now. Yeah, but
it's important.
It is important.
When he called Haiti and African countries shitholes, that's important. You're talking about a character situation.
Maybe not. Trump is one man who doesn't know shit about being president of the United States.
But his policy immediately focused on deportation of the Haitians.
Trump's policy is not Trump's policy. And they released Trump's policy is given to him by the people who were there.
God damn it. What I'm saying is that he said some racist shit, and then he elected a policy that reflected his racist.
That's why Chomsky is saying that he's being used as a distraction.
But he's
because
not,
he says racist shit and captures everybody's attention.
But
who cares if Donald Trump is racist?
They released a policy that said they're going to focus on Haitians, and they lied and said the Haitians were the people who overstayed their visas the longest, and they're not by definition.
Donald Trump being racist.
That's why that's an issue. Because he used that racist statement to enact a lie.
Donald Trump being racist has nothing to do. I mean,
and put it in the policy.
They passed
when you put a lie in the policy, you have a bigger problem.
Dude, they passed laws and legislation in the Jim Crow times for people to not advance and to discriminate and be racial against people. People being racist and discriminatory in government and in high positions is nothing new. That shit is nothing new, dog. Like, that shit has been there. Like, for all we know, Bill Clinton was racist. I mean, shit, he didn't say the shit.
The war on drugs.
So at what point do you be like, hey, don't do that? Or you just be like, they always did this?
Juice, that's how it's been, man. That's how it's been since the formation of this country.
I argue that the whole civil rights movement was
Mexicans
about,
and
hey,
Hispanics.
Cut that shit the fuck out, and then they kind of changed the country because of it.
I don't know, man. It's just, there's no equality.
I hear you, but I don't know.
There's no equality in this country.
That's
I mean, America is built off racism. All right, fine, Jay. Fine.
The world's based off.
So, Intelligent Idea Talkers, episode 32. Guess it's gonna wrap us up.
Boom.
Me and Juice had about 3.5 cups of wine each, so
God damn it! What I'm trying to
I'm feeling a little sluggish right here. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Any last thoughts, gentlemen?
May the force be with you.
Go see the National Museum of African American History and Culture if you get a chance, and for that matter, go see any museum in the Smithsonian.
But especially the African American.
What is this that they say it's the 9th and newest museum? Well, how many museums
if you're
they
a person
have?
of color.
I don't think 9th is kind of lowballing. Don't they have like 16 or 17 museums? How many museums are in
DC?
How many museums are in the Smithsonian under the Smithsonian umbrella? Like that is a Smithsonian Institute museum. I think there's like somebody's at like 13 or 14. Am I getting that wrong? I feel like I should Google that shit real quick before we get off air. I don't want to be wrong. But,
all I know is it took the goddamn 2016 for them to decide to make a African American History Museum.
And the building was beautiful, man. Go see
20 fucking something buildings of museums of history. 2016.
Well, dude, they didn't even recognize us as citizens and fucking. I mean, could you imagine being counted as what was it, 3/4 of a human being? The fuck? Like, what does that mean? All right, guys. Well, yeah, episode 32 of Tell An Idea Talkers podcast. Thanks for joining us. Once again, I'm your host, D.
This is Juice.
This is Jay.
Peace.